learning about user-centered design before systems thinking. Because, at 18 and 19, when I got out of the foster care system, I was really interested in how in the hell I went through 10 years of a system and no one ever asked me a question about how I would make it better. That was, and there's small but significant changes that we can make even within a system that's completely ruined, like the American foster care system, that would make a significant difference. And, and it would be a lie to say that now there's still impacts, and something I talk a lot about is there's no such thing as no impact. So when I came around human-centered design or user-centered design, it made me really excited to think, is there people out there listening to those experiencing the challenges? And that was the first step in, is starting to really learn to listen to people who had even been through things like me, but understand that there's limits to empathy that I can have for them. Even though I might be close to their experience, we can only know someone so much. And I think really great designers know that, and they honor that, and they keep that in the room and within the design process. But user-centered design, human-centered design, it started to hit its limits pretty quickly for me when I started to understand that what it didn't look at was how interdependent and connected our systems are. And we're getting better at that. I think this pandemic is one way that there's no way you can't deny just how interdependent we are. But I'm starting to also feel like human-centered design is minimizing some really important some really important pieces to what it means. And if we only design a solution for one part of the system, it absolutely is going to have an impact on another part of the system. And so if you look at from a systems view and you include a lot more people and a lot more stories, and we realize the limits of empathy, and we make sure that the people aren't just these experts trained in a singular way, from a certain place or a certain socioeconomic status, we are definitely going to have a better shot at more robust solutions that will last as long as they will last. And I think that's the other bit, is that no solution lasts forever. So how do you help communities, and hopefully in the long term, our whole entire society, be able to recognize when things aren't working for us, and then be able to have the courage to say, this isn't working. Let's kick back into one part of the design cycle and fix it. Let's get some new ideas. Let's relook at the problem statement, decide if that's what we want to be working on, or let's see who we missed in the beginning, who would have made this conversation more robust, or let's prototype a new solution. I mean, whatever it is. So I think when you deeply know and believe that we are interdependent upon one another, design can become an important thing. And circularity is doing that to a certain extent. So I'm excited to see what circularity is doing. I also think that designing with the resources around you and caring about planet and people have always been around. And that's where, it's in Cambodia and Thailand and India, and it's in the foster care system that I learned these principles. It wasn't through working, with design companies around the world or taking IDEO courses. And so I think there's just a certain level of arrogance that I'm ready to help liberate in the design world. And I think it's also a part of this next evolution of design. Some people, when we first started, called it mindful. You do such mindful design, and then inclusive design or equity-based design came out. And so we're still wrestling with all that. There are some things that we will not lose in the way that we work, and that's relationships are as important as the process. The process is more important than the product. Building trust is important, because after the solution, are people gonna still show up for each other when again we need to pivot or change solutions, especially around complex social challenges. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts around that particular element. And there's a balance. Sometimes you do user-centered design. Sometimes you go very deep into the problem, and sometimes it's a systems level thing. But I think all the time those tensions need to be at play, and you should at least be oscillating between the two if we're going to have a shot. And if you include the whole system in the design process and you really honor what everyone's saying, maybe that transforms the whole thing. The whole linear process becomes something much more human and living than what it is now.